Hello. The character is often seen as the core of the story and usually brings the story alive. Often, the audience must relate to the character in some specific way. It might not be many things, but at least one thing. And also the character must be interesting. They must make the movie memorable and fun to watch. And the more extreme the character can get, and more exciting, the more interesting the movie will be. One interesting example is Batman. Batman has an interesting backstory, like his parents were killed, and he had a lot of training in Batman, so that's an interesting character. Application. Well, some application can be in short films, where you have more control of the character, and sometimes it can be the most basic part of the film. In documentaries, lastly, you tend to focus on one person or many people. They have something special about them that they can share about their lives. That is the character.
The second one is conduct. Conduct is basically the behavior of the character. Actually, in every single film, the directors and the producers have to pick their actors very carefully because the actor has to live in within the character. It's very important. The character cannot always speak, therefore their actions also speak for their words, such as facial expressions. The first drama is I Love Lucy. They actually use real couples so that the couples can really feel what they feel in the drama in real life, so that they can act better. The second one is Matrix. Matrix is a action movie, therefore there's a lot of action that speaks for the characters. Therefore, the movie itself uses a lot of stuntmen instead of actual famous actors because the stuntmen were trained to fight and do stunts. Therefore, it fits them better. The third movie is basically Lincoln, that has currently been released in America. Daniel Day-Lewis, he says he lives within that movie for a very long time so that he can get used to how Lincoln feels and stuff. The fourth movie is, well, the fourth one is basically crying. That's in every single audition. The auditioner always tells them to cry because they think the crying itself basically feels the emotion of sadness without saying any single word. Thank you.
Okay, so the context of the movie is essential to the plot. You have to leave the audience thinking. Make them think. For example, in the movie District 9, the main character is turned into an alien and he has to, at the end of the movie, you were left thinking whether he was going to be turned back into a human or he was going to stay into an alien forever. Now, the crutch. The crutch is how well a character uses the details and objects of an environment. Objects are essential to the plot. For example, if you did not have these objects, you would not be able to have the movie. One example is the movie Speed. In this movie, the plot is centered around the bomb on a bus. Without the bomb, the plot would not be interesting.
The narrative arc is the basis for every good story. It looks something like this, and it's often demonstrated like this. So there are 7 main elements. The first being the intro, which is brief background information on the character or setting. And I'll give you an example of the movie WALL-E because it's a very good movie as well as it fulfills the chart. And the intro is basically saying the Earth is deserted, humans have left to space. And then the next one is the conflict, which is the problem or the obstacle that the main protagonist has to deal with. And in WALL-E, that would be Earth is polluted to be lived in by humans. The next one is rising action, which is everything that leads up to the climax, which is the protagonist overcomes a number of obstacles with more increased determination. And in WALL-E, this would be finding vegetation or a sign of life on Earth and proving it to humans. And then the top of the chart is the climax, which is the resolution of the conflict and height of the action. And in WALL-E, this would be humans trying to return to Earth. They have found vegetation. But there's a twist. In a good story, there's a twist, which is an unexpected turn of events. So in this, there's a pilot called Otto, who is trying to prevent the humans from returning. After the climax is falling action, which is the aftermath of the climax, which is the humans return to Earth and they inhabit it, try to rehabilitate it. And finally, it goes to resolution, which is the moral of the story of closing fault.
The condition of the story is not as important as the others. I mean, it is important, but it's much shorter than most of them. Condition basically is the setting, and usually like the time, the place, the era of the movie. Time, place, era of the movie, and often gives mood or feeling that adds to the movie. It usually helps the theme develop in the film, and oftentimes, without the setting, or I mean the condition at least, there would be no movie. One good example of this is Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is just that location, this whole world in Lord of the Rings is just very, very complex and diverse, which makes an interesting film, while there's so many films having to deal with the Lord of the Rings world. Thank you.
As our good friend Robert has mentioned, one of the important things within the narrative arc is the conflict. Conflict basically makes drama, and all movies and dramas have dramas in it, and they need a conflict. It makes the story interesting and has the basic solid problem and the story. It creates the story. For example, CSI is the conflict of most of the CSI is kidnapping. Therefore, it threatens a character's life or their loved ones, or stops them from reaching their further goals. The second one is Romeo and Juliet. Romeo loves Juliet, therefore wants to marry her. He asks Juliet's father if he can marry him, but the father first says no, and then eventually at the end they both die. The third one is Julius Caesar. Brutus and his Senate formed a conspiracy and assassinated Julius Caesar, and Mark Antony, as you can see, accused him of death.
For the crux of the plot, some objects are often ignored, such as small details that are essential to the plot. They may seem unimportant at first, but later they are revealed to be extremely significant to the plot, and they're needed to make the movie interesting.
Well, thanks for watching.
Now, what can we take away from all this? We can take away that the 7 C's that form this, they all combine together to form a great film and story. Thank you.